What's happening, Wargamers? Welcome to another episode of the Dossier, the Marvel Crisis Protocol show where we talk all things Crisis Protocol characters, from the design of their model to the character cards themselves and what they might bring to the table. As usual, these are not meant to be comprehensive discussions. They're just meant to be flashpoints and a quick overview of what the character could do for you. There are great discussions online that I highly recommend you go and check out because they will give you a much deeper understanding of the character. These are just sort of a jumping off point, if you will. And of course, these shows can't happen without the wonderful support of all the patrons over at patreon.com/AegisBrandStudios. For a couple bucks a month, you too can help the channel maintain this sort of content, keep the extra videos coming out, and possibly even expand into future content as we go down the road, as it just gives a little bit more freedom to keep up with things. And yeah, it just generally keeps the lights on. So thank you so much for everyone who is a patron over there. Today we are taking a look at Nebula, another one of the two threat characters for the Guardians of the Galaxy. And she's kind of an interesting one because we don't see a lot of play for Nebula, but it's not because she's not a good character. So let's take a look at her character, her model, just in general. And, oh, she's dropping her. And off the hop, I really like the fluid aspect of this model. I think there's a really great dynamic aspect to it. She's jumping off this piece of equipment. She's got her two shock batons ready to go. I love all the details and different textures that she has on her costume here, even on her skin. Just in general, I think it's a really fun model. What I don't like though is, like, look at this little shallow point on her foot where it connects there. That is always really worrisome, and unfortunately we've seen a lot of these, especially with early AMG designs, where there's just this shallow aspect of some of the connector points, which just always gives a nice little bit of trepidation whenever you're trying to lift the model up, especially if you've magnetized them and maybe you get the wrong size magnet or something on there. But overall, I like the model. I think it's very cool. It's very dynamic. She is definitely on the upper middle tier for me as far as models design. I'd love to see another take on Nebula because I think they've learned quite a bit. But just yeah, I dig the model. I think she's a really cool one. So what'd she bring to the table? So she's got 4 stamina. She's a long mover, size 2, 2 threat, 3, 3, 2 for her defenses. On her injured side, she does go up to 5 stamina. So she has 9 stamina total. She is another long mover like Black Widow there, which is really kind of cool, especially given the nature of this particular character. Her defenses, I mean, they're very standard. The 2 Mystic defenses is a little unfortunate, but it is kind of what it is. Can't really be too picky when it comes to a 2-threat character. So we have a physical strike attack. It is range 2, 4 dice. It is your typical builder attack. If you've watched any of these videos, you know how I feel about 4 dice builders. It's got a wild shock though, and I do like the wild shock. In this case, it's a slightly less than 50% chance, something like 43 or so. But if you can get that shock off, it's really kind of nice because shock will just screw up the math of all the characters on the other side of the table. And it's a great way of disrupting an enemy game plan as a result. We have Blaster Pistol, which is an energy attack, range 3, 4 dice, and it is a gainer. I can live with a 4 dice builder if they have a gainer option included, which she has here. Would I have liked it to be a range 4 attack? Probably. But I'm okay with a range 3, 4 dice gainer attack. We have Shock Sword Assault, which is range 3, 6 dice for 3 power. After the attack is resolved, you place this character within range 1. These sort of movements are never to be discounted. It is a disturbing amount of movement that you can actually get with it, and I've seen it throw people off all the time, myself included, when they get all that extra movement. Because not only is it range 3, which is 6 inches, but it's also the range of the base, and then that extra 1, and then the base of the character as well. So it ends up being closer to 8 inches of actual displacement. So it's really good. And then a wild stun. Stun's a great condition if you can get it on there. Being able to disrupt power economy is always really solid. So her superpowers, we have an innate assassin. She cannot contest, interact, or hold objective tokens. This is actually one of the big things that probably holds her back, the fact that she's not scoring VP for you. It's kind of unfortunate, but she is meant to be a character killer. This character can reroll any number of its attack dice when attacking a character that is holding or contesting an objective token. So this is something that stretches that 4 and 6 dice attacks just a little bit further. It's not great. It's not as good as having those extra dice, because obviously extra dice can become crits and explode into further attacks. But being able to reroll some dice, especially on 4 dice attacks, just helps you be a lot more consistent with how many successes you get through. Granted, you do have to go after somebody who is holding or contesting an objective, but in this particular game, I mean, that's the name of the game. You want to do that anyway. We have cybernetic enhancements. So there's another innate. This character may reroll 1 dice defenses, and additionally, at the start of the character's activation, remove 1 damage from it. So this is a reverse healing factor. I've seen people mess up the timing of this one all the time. It happens at the start of the activation, which, I mean, I don't know if it's better or worse than healing factor or so. I think healing factor might be a little bit better because you can take some damage over the course of an activation and then it just, heals up for you. Whereas this one, if you're not injured at the start of it, it doesn't really do anything for you. But it's a way that kind of keeps her alive. If they don't finish the job on her and she has the ability to activate, she's going to gain 25% of her health back right off the hop. And then she's immune to bleed, poison, and stun. Immunities are one of those things where they're always nice to have, so you don't have to worry about those conditions. On her opposite side, I don't believe anything changes here. Just on a quick thing, no, it doesn't look like anything changes. So that's Nebula. So where does she kind of exist in this game? Well, the problem is when she's not scoring points, a lot of people are a little bit hesitant to take a character like that because they need to either, if they're not scoring points, they need to at that point do something else really well, either be a really solid support role or they need to be taking models off the table. Unfortunately, while she does have some good tech to take models off the table, it's not great tech to do so. She can get around the board, and at a 4th threat, I mean, you can kind of be comfortable ignoring her until it's too late, which might catch some people off guard. But it's one of those things where, unfortunately, you compare it to a character like Cosmic Ghost Rider, who often can't hold objectives either, but he is removing characters and activations from the game. Nebula is not. She might be chipping people down. She's a great late round activation to go up and maybe take somebody else who has already been chipped a couple times. But otherwise, she kind of lacks some place in a lot of rosters as a result. I think if you put her into, say, like Guardians with the Winged tokens or any other affiliation with rerolls, it's not bad, but there's diminishing returns on the rerolls. Like rerolling a reroll only gets you so far. I think where she wants to be is places where maybe she's getting power whenever she's dealing damage, or maybe even like something like a new Red Skull Cabal, like the Master of the World Red Skull, who has an ability to treat a skull as a crit, for instance, or even like an M'Baku or Mighty Steve or something like that, where if you roll wilds, or you can potentially change some dice facings just to make her attacks hit that much harder. I think that's where she kind of wants to be. Because otherwise, unfortunately, she doesn't bring all. She's pure attrition is kind of the catch here, and if you're not leaning into that with Nebula, she's not really able to do her job, unfortunately, and that can kind of hold her back. I definitely want to hear your comments on Nebula below, so definitely sound off there, and we will see you next time. Happy wargaming.